All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Coffee Q&A. This week, it's May 13th. We're back again every weekday, or most every weekday, 10 a.m. Eastern, to talk a little bit about coffee. And I'm your host, Jay, here on the Coffee channel. Today, we've got, Mom, good morning to you. How are you doing today? Today, we've got a coffee from San Diego, California. I was there last Monday, actually a week ago today. And one of my friends, or two of my friends actually, not one, but Andy Newbom and his wife Nanelle Newbom, they own a place called Torque. They were actually, if you're familiar with them, they were the owners of a place called Barefoot Coffee Roasters about 20 years ago. Andy and I started in the business pretty much the same time, and we've been friends ever since. We worked together on forming the Barista Guild of America, and got to know each other really well. He's a really great guy. One of the unsung pioneers of sourcing coffee. It was during this era that a number of people were out trying to build relationships with coffee farmers around the world. You probably heard about Dwayne Sorensen and the guy from Counterculture and a couple of the guys, but who you don't really hear about much is Andy Newbom. And Andy was one of those people that actually went out in the field too, just like Dwayne, and just started knocking on doors trying to find coffee in interesting and unique places. And he did a great job. And so one of the interesting things that he was working here, his original shop was in Santa Clarita, California, which is in the Silicon Valley, very suburban shop. Like the first time we went there in 2000, maybe late 2003, it was very like suburban strip mall. He had just taken over the company from the previous owner. And, it was like, it's one of these not too special kind of places. And then we went back a year or two later, and it had transformed into his vision of coffee, where it's very much like an urban coffee shop setting with like hipster. Well, this is before hipsters really started to emerge very heavily, but really creative, interesting type of people that were bohemian types. And he created this little center of Bohemia coffee, third wave coffee, in the middle of a suburban strip mall. It was very strange and odd and remarkable. So, what's going on, Keone? How are you, man? So we've got our coffee here. This coffee is from Torque. And what is Torque? Torque is the company they've started a couple years back, where the idea is that they want to give really strong transparency to the farmer, meaning that, and I hope I'm going to get this correctly because I'm going to say it. I know that Andy told me about his model when they've started a couple times over the years, and I'm trying to remember. But basically, the idea is that when you look at the price, as a consumer, that 20% of that cost, of your cost, goes directly to the farmer. So if the bag of coffee costs $20, that $4 goes directly to the farmer, right? Now, you may think, oh, that doesn't seem like a lot, but it's quite a lot, because most of the time, a lot of coffees you'll see, maybe at the most 5% will go to the farmer of that. So in most scenarios, a $20 bag of coffee, maybe the farmer. So there is it's a lot more beneficial to the farmers. Now, this particular coffee, it's called Finca Vista Hermosa, and this is in the Huehuetenango region of Guatemala. And the owner is a guy named Edwin Martinez. Edwin is a guy that I've known for many years as well. And I personally have never bought coffee from him. And this farm, even though his farm is very well regarded, I haven't bought. I have relations with other farmers, but also in anyone's coffee program, you can only buy so much coffee per year. And I can't buy from everyone that I know of, more than I could probably sell. But anyway, this particular coffee is a blend of Catuai, Catura, and Bourbon varietals. And why is it called Espresso Reserves? Because when they were when they were processing the coffee, they were cupping them, and they realized that, hey, these particular lots of coffee, they thought would make really great espresso. So they sequestered it just for this Espresso Reserve blend. And then Nanelle roasted it up on their roaster which I forgot what the roaster is. They just bought a new one. When I was there at the shop, they had just installed a new Primo 6 kilo. I think it was a kilo. And I have a little bit of issue with it, so I was kind of helping them try to figure it out. I didn't really do too much to it because I'm not that well versed. But anyway, so today we're going to have a look at it, and then we're going to make espresso for one of the few times we'll do that on the show here. Dan, good morning to you. How are you? So again, we've got, let's see, the packaging. People love our coffees, producers love their coffees. So yeah, 20% of the retail price goes directly to the farmers. Is that right? Coffee producers' equity in the full retail value of their coffee is 20% of the retail price. Okay, great. Was prepaid to the farmer who produced the coffee to us. So one of the things also that by doing this, so of course, when you're buying coffee, you're buying the coffee up front. Well, if you're a reputable guy, I was talking to someone recently, but one of these famous American coffee importers, famous, like highly regarded, turns out they got their start because they essentially stole 2 containers of Ethiopian coffee from the farmers without paying them, never paid them, sold the coffee at a premium, then used that money to bankroll the rest of their stuff. So if you think of who that is, whoever is the ultra premium of green coffee, that's their deal. One of the reasons why I never bought from them. Anyway, no matter how well regarded they are, ethically there's a problem. Anyway, so here we go. We've got this. We love coffee, people. Let's. I got to remember. This is my affliction. I got to remember to use the pull tabs and not be a Lolo. Brian's asking, is that my Wi-Fi issue, or am I not coming through? Am I not coming through? I don't know. It looks okay from my end. How about you guys? What do you think? So are you getting, there was some issue earlier, but it seems good now. So are you guys getting some kind of like feed issue? I've got full resolution. I mean, full connectivity on my one dedicated server here, in feed, whatever you call that, internet network. All right, so this is the coffee. Now, to my eye, I think it's a little bit on the lighter side for a roasted espresso, just a hair, but stylistically, that's everyone's stylistic. George says, I've been experienced. Oh, is it the audio you guys are talking about that you're having problems with? Is it audio or video that you're having issues? Let me know. Maybe I can work to resolve that on the placement of my microphone is here today. And so perhaps, but it's line of sight to the actual receiver. So hopefully it's not too big of a problem. Anyway, so this is the coffee. Nicely roasted, nice sorting, of course. I mean, honestly, Finca Vista Hermosa, a very well regarded, really excellent coffee producer. I really wouldn't have any question about what they're doing. Oh, audio and video is choppy again. Maybe it has to do with the sun. Like, we're having the solar flares. Could that be part of it? I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so what we're going to do today, we're going to try this coffee. We're not going to brew it like we normally do. We're going to make espresso because it's an espresso blend. So therefore, we have to do an espresso. Otherwise, what are we doing? So we're going to go through some making espresso today. I've got a separate setup for that. So let's go and have a look at the stuff. All right, okay, so here we are. We've got our espresso machine. Today is a La Valentina E61 group head type machine. What does that mean? It means that it has the Faima E61 group head, which is this big brass group head that... Oh, George is with us. What's going on, George? That is good because it retains heat really well. It's called the E61 because it came out in 1961, developed by Faima. And it was used widely, of course it was used widely by them. But over the years, it's, I guess, fallen into public domain. So a lot of different companies will utilize it. It's got a nice heat, it's got a nice heat retention surrounding I should probably tilt this down a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about here. Good heat retention. 58 millimeter portafilter. If you're quick with your eyes, you'll notice that this is actually a La Marzocco, a more modern La Marzocco portafilter, stainless, blah 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 blah. They do fit. I do like these portafilters the most. And if you want to, this is the spouted, right? The spouted that you can remove the spouts, and then there's also naked if you want to go naked, right? And this is the E61. So the La Valentina. La Valentina is this company that produces espresso machines in Italy. They're imported, I think, from Whole Latte Love as well as First Line. I bought this one from First Line back 20 years ago now. So it's 20 years old. It has not been rebuilt. It is actually works great. I keep it mostly at home, and it was in the office for a while. But so when I first got this because I was like, oh, I need to get an espresso machine. I cannot afford a La Marzocco, and I need to work with. And I was thinking at one point of getting the Solus 5000, and I was like, well, what do you think about that? And he's like, no, don't do this. That's foolish. That will never hold up. Oh, good. It's all fixed. Good. And so I bought this. At the time, in 2003, this was $1,500. Today, in 2024, it is $1,900. I think it was on a Whole Latte Love was $1,900. So a $400 increase in 20 years is not a terrible amount, and it's actually quite solid. This one has the volumetric dosing. I don't know. I just like the way it looks with the volumetric dosing better than the switches. Although I don't use anything but the manual switching right there. There's the manual switch. I only use that. So that's just my style. Even like the big commercial machines that we have that have the commercial. I mean the volumetric the electronic controls. I only use the off and on. We also train that. So this is my basic setup. I don't make it very much at home. Actually, I almost never make espresso at home, mainly because I think it's messy. And I hate mess. Oh, actually, I don't hate the mess. I hate to clean. I don't want to clean. And I got so spoiled by having an operating cafe that I would much rather drive the 20 minutes to the shop and make espresso there. Or if I was really in a pinch, I'd have the staff make, my baristas make them for me. And then I wouldn't have to clean. It is my shame. It is my shame. Anyway, so we've got this here. We've also got one of these older Mazzer Major grinders. This is the Mazzer Major Auto, a battle tank of a grinder. This grinder is probably almost 20 years old, or at least 20 years old. I think I bought it used in like 2005 or 4 or something like that, and still operational. 83 millimeter burrs. Oh, actually, the burrs. These are the burrs. 83 millimeters, and fast speed, grinds quickly, grinds great. I guess I think SSP and all those fancy Berkeley's make 3-minute burrs that fit with modular bolt patterns. So if you really want to get a more modern burr grind, you can get that too. The only thing is, it's a beast. It's a beast. It's a tank because it's heavy. So it's not easy to move around. You can buy small hoppers. I do have a small hopper. I like to have the big hopper. This is only really good if you are, need a lot of coffee, like in a coffee shop setting. But I have these small ones that go right there. They're in storage at the moment. And this has a dosing chamber. And I saw some comments online that were like, what is that for? And it's like, gosh, man, are we so far removed? I mean, it's only 2024. Are we so far removed from with the single dosing that people don't understand what this is? And what this does, it actually is a chamber that fills, right? It was designed so you could fill the coffee. You turn it on, and it's called auto because it will actually sense when it's gotten below a certain level, and it will grind automatically and fill the chamber. There's also a pressure plate in here so that when you adjust the pressure plate, it changes the depth of the dosing chamber so that you can vary the amount of coffee. The idea is that when it's being used as it's designed, for it to be filled, when you click the handle, it will dispense maybe like, let's say 7 grams or 10 grams. Or I don't really know. I've never actually used them this way, but it will dispense a certain amount. And so all you have to do is take it, click, click, and you have all the coffee that you need. And then you just move forward with it. But because we don't use it that way, and this is before all these single dosing stuff came out, there is a lot of dust that will be, oh, maybe we can see it from here. How's that look? Is that better? Oh God, that's even worse. What the heck? Oh, Lord. There's always something. All right, well, that's not going to work. That the cable is all wonky. I guess I got to buy a new one. Anyway, we'll just have to. I'm testing it earlier, no problems. Now we're live, problems. Anyway, so you have to clear it out. So we're going to clear it out. I have a little bit of coffee in here that I was grinding with before over the weekend. We're going to clear all of that out of there. And we're going to use the brush to brush around the tines. I don't know what that other noise is now. This is the problem of using antiquated equipment. All right, so we got a little bit of extra coffee out of there. Great. Now, I did brew some coffee in here. I was using our House Nation blend from Smurl Coffee just to make coffee over the weekend. Actually, it was kind of a treat. But what we're going to do now is we're going to take the coffee, we're going to put it into the grinder and prepare it. Disco espresso. Nice, 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 nice. All right, so let's get the coffee up here. Now, I got the shots with the House Nation coffee to be pretty close to what I'm looking for. But whenever you change coffees, there's always going to be some kind of difference between density, the whatever, all kinds of factors. And so you'll want to recalibrate. So I'm grinding through all of that to hopefully to get rid of all the old coffee and have new coffee. Just the new Espresso Reserve. Okay. All right, let's try. We've got our portafilter here. Let us, we'll do some, okay, we will do some basic testing here. I'll use the scale. We'll see how I'm measuring. Okay, I like to use about 20 to 21 grams of coffee. That's typically what we use at Sproul. I like a heavier dose because I want a nice thick coffee. All right, let's see here. Oops, that's way too much. Okay, distribution. All right, let's see. What do we have for, how much coffee is that? Oh, a little bit heavy, 25. That's a lot. All right, we'll go back. We'll see what it's like. We're going to see what it's like. It's probably going to be a little bit heavy, a little bit tight. And we want to brew right away. Don't want to waste time. Oh, can you see it? A little bit there. We probably need to pull back a little bit on our, even that doesn't look very nice. Even for 25 grams. That doesn't look very pretty. All right, let's have a look here. So here is our coffee. Not bad looking, not bad. Nice, decent crema. A little bit of the darker spot, which is okay. Let's see what it tastes like. There's some winey sweetness to it. A little bit of brightness, not terrible. Okay, could be better. Now, you may have noticed that I spit that out, not because it's a bad coffee. It's just that when you drink a lot of coffee and you're tasting coffee, you're calibrating. I don't like to get over caffeinated, so I will just spit it out so we can move faster. All right, let's see what we got here going on. Okay, let's look at our puck. The puck is pretty dry. But you can see the impression of the screen and on this one, right? This particular screen is a push-in screen, so it doesn't have the set screw in the center. And then let's look here at the puck. The puck holds well. That's a good sign. We want the puck to be relatively dry, like this is. It is pretty hot, but you know, I'm not afraid. And then the next thing I like to look at is this. And what does this tell us? So this is the residual oils that are left inside the basket tells us where we are in our shot. So I think, so here's the thing. So when you're talking about residual oils in your portafilter, these are clues that we will use as professionals, because when we serve a coffee to a guest, we can't drink their coffee, right? We can't drink to know how it went. We can only use visual indicators to give us an idea of whether or not the coffee will be successful, or at least to the ideals that we have. So by looking at something like this, it shows us that where did we finish the shot? If there's residual oils, it will show us that it was either too short or too long. If there's no residual oils, that means that you were able to stop the shot in the little tiny window of ideal extraction. So the coffee, in many respects, the coffee speaks to you, right? As I'm watching the flow, it's speaking to me. As you notice, I'm not really using scales, because I don't think you need scales. I think scales are a panacea for, you know, a lack of experience. And if you have a lack of experience, that's perfectly fine. But ideally, so even if you have an idea of, well, we'll go back to that. So we use these visual clues because we want the coffee to be just right. So as we're seeing the flow of the water, of the liquid coming out of the portafilter spouts, right? As it's coming out here, it'll kind of be gurgly at first, maybe a little fluffy, and then it'll kind of settle into its thing, right? It'll settle into its stream. And as it's coming down, you're going to see at some point where it will fluctuate. It'll do this, right? As it's coming out, it'll, and the moment it does that, it's telling you it's done. This is kind of like the moment that it's kind of like there's all this flavor packed in the coffee, and we're pushing the water through it. The flavor is pushing back to prevent it from being released into the world. But the moment that it like finally can no longer hold on and falls out into the liquid, that's when you get this glurginess. And also in the actual cup itself, we're watching the crema. Like if you've got it nicely dialed in and you've got nice crema forming, that glurg and the appearance of blonding will be at the same time, right? Those are two visual indicators that you're done and you should stop. Now, if you want to correlate that to scales, let's say you have this recipe 18 in, 36 out. That glurg, that finish of extraction should happen at 36. So that by the time you hit 36, you get that, and it should be within the time variable that you want, right? Those are going to give you those ideal conditions. So like, for example, at Spro, we develop our espressos so that the ideal shot should be all of these visual clues happening between 25 to 30 seconds or 29 seconds, ideally. It can be a little bit longer, it can be a little bit shorter, and I don't necessarily worry too much about it because what I'm looking for is the extraction. How does it look? When does it pull all of the coffee out? Ideally, it happens between 25 to 29. If it happens at 21, okay. If it happens at 35, okay. Let's taste and see how it is. And that's, to me, the ultimate arbiter is taste. I think a lot of people that I see online, they rely so much on the data, 36 or 40. And here's the reality. And the thing that frustrates me the most and irritates me, especially when I was a judge, is that you see all these baristas, they come online and they're like, or they come onto the competition, they're like 18 and 36 out. You're telling me you're going to deliver me 36-gram coffee? Well, then deliver me 36-gram coffee, because when I look at the scale, as a head judge, I'm looking at your scale. You're delivering 42. And I think in the world of, in the highest levels of competition, you're a barista that's supposedly world class. You tell me you're going to be 36 and you give me 42, you should be penalized for that. Because otherwise, you're just giving me bullshit. You're giving me bullshit data. Who cares? Honestly, to me, I don't care. I don't care how much coffee you're going to give me. I want it to be delicious. That's all I care about. As an operator, when I have guests, all I care about is giving them something delicious to try. Hopefully, they're having a delicious experience and hopefully a wonderful personal experience. The rest, I don't really care about. All right, so let's go back and try another one. What are we going to do? So that last shot was 25. We really want to be closer to 21. So let's go back and try it again. Is that the right company? Yep. Okay. We're going to rinse out the portafilter. I just like to rinse it out with the group head, plus also by rinsing out with the group head water, I'm flushing the group head as well to clean out the portafilter. I'll set it back up on here. Even in a rush of production, I'll always put the portafilter back into the group head, just because it gives it a moment for the water that's collected in here to drain out. And that way I'm not like moving. If I don't do that and I rinse it and I start to go to the, move it around the counter, I'm dripping water all over the counter. And I just make myself more mess that I have to clean, which always irritates me. Like, I hate cleaning. Okay, so let's go back and we've got our portafilter. It's a little bit dirty. All right, so now we're gonna clean it out. And let's grind again. So we've already got we gotta go back and reset our scale. Scale is timed out. There it is, negative 582. Now, if you're working in a commercial setting, and as you notice, I didn't purge the grinder this time. If you're working in a commercial setting, that should be perfectly fine. Here is our coffee. I'm going to work with that and see how about working that. I'm going to put a little bit, oops, you can't see that, can you? I don't know. I'm going to put a little bit back into it so that my mound looks like this, right? And then we're going to tamp it, level and tamp. I always flick it out so that any kind of extra coffee that's lying in here just gets flicked out, and then I'll wipe off both the wings as well as the rim, usually with the palm, so that I don't gouge into it. And then a quick flush to make sure that everything's running quick and nicely. And especially in a heat exchange machine, you want to make sure that you're not getting boiling from the group head, because the way the heat exchange machines work is that, okay, I'm babbling and I'm totally not at the right camera. Sorry. The way heat exchange machines work is that there's a big boiler that has the water for the steam making, right? And that's kept to about 250 degrees or about 1.5 to 2 atmospheres. And so that's all the water that's heating. And so heat exchange machines, that means that there's cold water that runs in a tube through the heat through the big boiler into the group head. A well-designed heat exchange machine, as long as you're constantly using the group head, the water that flows through it will be heated to roughly about 200 degrees or so. But once it stops, of course, the water that's inside the tube, that's inside the boiler, reaches a state of equilibrium, right? Because it will heat up to 240. Once you open the valve and it comes out, even though it's at, let's say, 235 or 220, once it hits atmospheric pressure, it drops immediately down to 212, which is boiling. So that's why when you're working with heat exchange machines and you hit the button, you'll hear this sputtering, because that's the boiling, that's the water boiling off. So you want to, especially if the machine's been sitting for a while and you're getting that, you want to push through that, right? You want to flow that water out. So that may be a few ounces until you get the clean, cold water that's entering the system, and that gets to the ideal temperature. Modern exchange machines have a lot more control. They have mixed valves that will help to regulate the temperature and generally work a lot more precisely. But this one, older technology, just got to work around it. There's always something you have to work around when it comes to espresso. All right, let's give it a try. Okay, now we're here. We're going to flush. We don't hear any spouting, so we don't have to worry about that. Lock and load. Oh, I forgot to measure how much. All right, we'll just go back to it. Okay, we got a flow now. We got a little bit of leaking. One of the difficult parts is that because there's not a lot of mass with this machine, even though the machine overall for a home machine is pretty darn heavy, there's not a lot of mass to it. So sometimes it's a little bit hard to keep everything locked in when you're trying to give it a lot of torque. Okay, we're stopped there. This does not look very nice. Let's go over here. There's our espresso. It looks a bit on the blonde side. Looks a little bit blondie. Volume-wise, looks okay, but it looks like we're going to see some. How's that look? Okay, there's our puck. Oh, there's a little ant. Step aside, ant. And it looks, there's a little bit of puffiness here. Let's see if it'll come out. It kind of came out broken, and we've got some extra residual oils here. Again, not the ideal. This is definitely not an ideal shot. We can already see that by the coloration. Like, I want to see deeper colors in the crema. So let's see. It's a little bit on the brighter side, but not bright like modern day, especially coffee geeky guys like brightness. There's a nice bright, there's a nice sweetness, actually, a cherry sweetness. What are we supposed to get with this? Let's see. It says we're supposed to get fudge brownie, chocolate cake, Turkish apricots. Okay, so I can see the fruitiness, like there's this cherryness here, cherry sweetness. But we're not getting the chocolate tones. Why is that? This is where we have to play a little bit more with it to see. I'm making a mess here. I'm making a mess. This is why I don't make espresso at home, because all I do is make a mess. All right, let's go back. Now I just rinse off the cups, because especially if I'm just using it for myself, I don't really worry too much about certain things. All right, let's do some rinsing here. Get everything back up to speed. Again, lock that in. I always like to keep a trash can, especially here at the house, right here, because I just, that way it doesn't fall on the floor. I hate to clean, like I told you, I hate to clean. I'm always looking for ways to do shortcuts so I can keep chore training down to an absolute minimum. All right, let's try again. We want to remember that we have to measure our coffee. So here's the thing, this is what I'm saying about the dripping part. We want to measure our coffee. Okay, 583. All right, now we're going to remember to do this. Let's, can you see me here? Okay, good, we can see you. The one nice thing that I like about these types of grinders is that I can turn them on, let them grind, and I don't have to stand there. I can do other things while, what is that all about? 608. Okay, it said 580, did it say 583, 583, 608, or did it say, what did it say? It said 5. No, I don't know what it says. Who knows? Who knows what it says? Who knows what it says? Keone says, it is really interesting to see your process and the observations you have on the puck and portafilter. Yeah, I mean, these are things that I think that are quite um, important as a professional. Like if you're at home, I mean, I think these are helpful for home, but you know, a lot of this comes because you're seeing it multiple times a day. When you're only doing once or twice a day, it's a little bit more difficult to get that. Also, the thing I want to point out here, you may have noticed that on this particular, there's a pattern, this C, what do they call it? This comes from this tamper. It's a C something tamper. This is actually the temper we use at Sprohamden. This is the actual shop temper. Reg Barber, my personal favorite temper maker. What is this? Rosewood, or is it Bubinga wood? Bubinga wood with Delrin insert, and then he laser engraved the company logo with stainless steel 58 millimeter. You can actually get it down to 58.2, 58 point whatever. I don't remember what this one is, but this is their C something that has these circular things. The idea is that and then it's got this little bit of a chamfering here. You can just barely see it, just a little bit, and that's the idea, is to push out the coffee slightly to help seal the edges in case you may have some errors in the way of your distribution. As you may notice also, I'm not really using many tools. I probably should. Matt did give me one of these, which I think is cool. I like these little rings. I just forget to use it. But if you have it, it just kind of helps to keep everything inside. Maybe I'll try that for the next one, leave that out. And then as you notice, I don't really use any distribution. The distribution that I'm using is really about, you know, moving the coffee around with my finger. Right, for many years, that's all we did. And I did buy a WDT from this guy on Etsy in the UK. He made, because what I liked about it, I liked that it had a case, and I liked that it had this pearlescent, what do you call it? This pearlescent type of a filament that to make the thing. And so he's put these, of course, acupuncture needles, which is kind of cool. I've used it a few times, but I don't really use it. But I think it's kind of cool looking. So I've got some of the toys that you guys are used to. All right, let's go back to the shot and see what we can get. All right, here we go. Here we go. One of the things I think is important is that you want to lock, load, and pull the shot immediately. Like, you really won't see me wait, because we want that. We don't want the heat of the group head to bake any of the that I'm getting what I feel is very light looking crema. Now we saw the wavering. The wavering's already happened. I've been talking too much. I'm not getting what I want out of it. I think that what we need to do is maybe go a little bit finer. Finer, because I want to see more extraction come out. I want to get more color. I want to get more everything out of it. Mm. That fruitiness is very, very strong in this one. Like fruity, a little bit bright, not too bright, a little bit of brightness, but it's missing body. It's like lacking. It's like we need to do better. We need to do better. So as you can see here, the crema, not as nice as it could be. Like that's not so pretty. Let's look at our puck. Our puck, kind of on the dry side. Nice to see that we don't see any like holes on the edges. Like sometimes when you have improper distribution, you'll see the holes, and then the way it'll produce channeling. Gosh, this thing. There we go. And the channeling. So let's look at our puck. Our puck looks pretty good, relatively dry, a little bit crumbly. I'd like it to be a little bit more stronger together than this. Oh, my counter is not looking pretty anymore. And then let's look at our, we got still this extra, because you know what, I'm not stopping correctly because I'm looking for something. I don't know what I'm looking for. I'm feeling it. More of this coffee making really to me now is more about feel, like not the force, but just kind of like this sense of like feeling your way through it, right? All right, let's rinse it out. Let's try again. We changed the grind a little bit, and so now we're gonna let that dry out. Oh, we gotta. Whenever you change your grind, you want to purge a little bit. Purge. Oh, what am I doing? I already purged that. All right, let's go again. Make sure that when you get to pull your shots, make sure that your portafilters are nice and clean. They should be dry. They should not have any, what do you call it? There should be nothing. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to measure our portafilter. Let's do that again. Hopefully we'll get this to work correctly. Right, there's empty. Put that in there. See with that 581. Oh, we've already. All right, there's our coffee. I'm just gonna spin that around. Next time we do more espresso, I should have more. I'm gonna use a little bit less. All right, let's go look at this. 581, we've got, again, 25. Oh, God, I'm doing a lot here. All right, so 25, we're gonna do 25. And Michael says, very nice walkthrough. Hey, how was your trip to Boston? Did you enjoy it? I saw your Instagram. Looks like you went to a lot of nice places. Really enjoy real life, unfiltered, impromptu. The nice thing about when you're actually in a professional environment, right? Like in your own coffee shop, you hopefully won't have to do this in the middle of service because hopefully you've got it all worked out. And especially if you're using consistent coffee, like we would use consistent coffee, meaning that we would have our espresso blend, and that's what we use daily. And so once you have that all set up, honestly, these baristas that come into their work and they're like, I need 15 minutes to dial in. Like, what are you doing for 15 minutes? For God's sake, you're just wasting time, wasting coffee, wasting everything. Really, I found over the years that, maybe I come in, pull a shot, make a tweak, ready to go. It should take less than 5 minutes. But that's only if you've got a lot of consistencies going on, right? That's the big thing, is to build consistencies into what you're doing. And here goes my other, you know what? There's always so many things that trouble you. Is this battery dead? One of the things I'm running right now with, let me go grab something. I'm running with, for normally when we're doing these coffee setup, these live streams, I have the cameras that are set up. And by having a constant setup, I don't have to worry so much about, the cameras and everything. So, meaning that I can just go ahead and run the show without having to worry about everything because the cameras themselves are connected to AC power. But the two additional cameras that I'm using for today's live stream are, they're the actual cameras that I use in the field to shoot most of the videos on the channel. This is the Sony ZV-1, and I don't really have a constant power source for this because they're field cameras. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this big Anchor battery to power the other camera. So I don't have to worry. The batteries only last. Oh yeah, there we go. See, the one battery's dead now. Just died. The batteries only last about 45 minutes to an hour, and so if you go longer, you need to power them. All right, that should probably do it. Okay, good. So there we go. Now we're ready to go. Okay, so let's go back and pull the shot. Is it running? Okay, good. So just a little bit of a flush. See, this is what I mean by it moving around. When you got big 2-3 group machines, you don't really have to worry about that. So we changed the grind, but we're getting a lot more resistance now and potentially a stalling situation. Oh yeah, that's stalling. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go with less coffee this time. So that time we were 25. Now we really need to go down to 21. So perhaps for 25 grams, I have overcompensated. So as you can see here, oops, not that one. As you can see here, we've got, this is the stalled puck. Once in a while, if you go too much or too fine with too much coffee, you're going to result in a stall, and that can happen. Yeah, see, there's not enough water that has flowed through. There's just a little bit to moist it, but not enough to keep it whole. Yeah, and then as you can see, this is just the onset. You can see here just the onset. So you've got a lot of these oils. So a lot of these oils, as it starts, there's going to be a lot of oil pooling here, but those will be pushed through when you're doing it, and then hopefully you get rid of it all and you stop it at the right moment, which I haven't done yet. Which probably leads you to wonder, like, what is my level of competency in coffee if I can't seem to deliver? Makes me wonder too. Maybe this is why I haven't worked in a cafe environment. All right, let's see. Okay, we're gonna go back, reset everything. Also, another reason that's good to use the coffee water, the machine water, to rinse your portafilters, is that it keeps everything warm. Right? You want to keep everything warm. I like to keep everything warm. I think that's important. Okay, where are we now? Okay, we're ready to go again. Let me do a little cleanup here because we've got a little bit of, messiness going on. So this is the one area where those of you guys who have single dose grinders do have a better advantage than myself. Like in this situation, is because, you don't have as much mess to clean up between runs. Where this excels is you're able to process better volume. You do have a lot more waste. There is a bit more waste. Like if you're measuring out shot by shot, whatever it is, 18 grams of coffee at a time, and only grinding that much, you're going to have a lot better, or you're going to have better results as far as, not having as much waste. Okay, so last time, we did 25 grams at this new grind setting, which turns out to be, for that amount of coffee, too much. What we want to do is go less. So we're going to measure it now a little bit better, probably a little bit differently, so that we'll know that we are less. 582. All right, let's I'm gonna put this mound here. I got a mound on it. Let's see how much it says we're using. 27. So what am I going to do? I'm going to now knock off a bit of that. Let's go back to it and see what it says. 23.5. Back knock off a little bit more. 24. Now, how do we get to 23.5? We knocked off a little bit and now we're at 24. All right, I'm going a little bit more. 22. Oh gosh, this is a big basket. You know, I'm knocking it off, but it's not. Okay, so our $9 scale from Temu is a wonky fellow. I'm actually concaving the coffee. Okay, I'm not going to go lower than that because I just don't feel that that's right. I think that's too little already. Let's have a look here so you can see what it looks like. There's our puck, finished. 21.9, 22. Close enough, close enough. All right, let's brew it up and see what happens. I like to hold, when I have the moment, I like to hold it so I can see the liquid flowing into it. We're getting a little bit, okay, there we go. Now we're getting flow coming through. It's a little bit, it could be a little bit tight. I'm getting nice darker coloration though, at least in the onset. See, I don't like the way that's flowing. See, it's flowing really ugly. That's really ugly. I had really nice flow over the weekend. I don't know what has changed. Well, different coffee, of course. Irritating, irritating. It's very irritating. All right, let's have a look. There is our espresso. See, a little bit light. I really want to see darker crema. Michael says, we'll have to white watch later today. Oh, yeah, anytime, my friend, anytime. Yeah, there it is. Not so pretty, not so pretty. See, one of the things that talks about is fudge brownie and chocolate cake, like nice chocolatey notes, deeper body, thin, light, fruity sweetness, but not really great classic espresso notes. And it could be because it's, to me, to my eye, it's a little bit on the lighter side for roasting for that style of coffee. But also it could be just the fact the way that I'm pulling it. Then I probably need to go play with it some more. And this is one of the things that I think that is difficult as a home consumer, as a home enthusiast, is that you're buying a bag of coffee. This bag of coffee weighs, I don't know, 20 grams, 12 grams, 12 ounces, something like that. And, you know, I've already burned through half the bag. I'm not fully burned through. There's still some bit, you know, it's difficult because you really need to be quick on your things to figure out how to get it so that you get the most life out of your coffee. Now it's got nice fruity, maybe some orange tones. Like the previous shots had more cherry. This is a little bit more on the citrusy side. It's a concentrated brew, so it's kind of pleasant in that respect. But when I think of like espresso with body and chocolate notes and something that I want to mix with milk, I can't say that's quite where I would like it to be. This is where I would think that perhaps I'm not doing the coffee justice enough, right? Could it be the machine, the grinder? No, it could be all those things. But really, it's probably just me. probably making errors because I haven't actually made espresso in like a long time. But anyway, I know we're pushing 55 minutes, so that's going to be it for today. Keone says, I think one of the reasons I like the lever machines is I can feel the resistance and make judgment. That's always a nice thing when you're feeling it against it. The dangerous part of this, well, dangerous part of lever machines is like if you have a situation like we did here where the machine stalled and it's unable to pressure through the shot, like, well, I mean, in a lever, it will eventually push it through in a lever situation. You just have to probably wait for it to fully, take its 5 minutes or however long it takes to flow through so that you won't have that danger. Because, the danger, if you're not familiar with levers, for those of you who are watching, the lever, the spring in the lever provides the tension, that pressure in the brew chamber. The puck itself provides the resistance. So if you pressurize like we did here, and you got a stall, and you pull that portafilter out, well, now you've got this pressurized vessel that you're suddenly depressurizing, and the handle can break away from you, like, especially if you don't understand that. And there have been stories where baristas who were unknowing in this, would get hit. Their teeth would get knocked out. I mean, it can be quite violent and a bit dangerous. So if you're using a leverage machine, it's just important to be aware of that. Not to be afraid of it, just to be aware that you have to understand. If you can understand the mechanics of how it works, it will help you alleviate any kind of potential injury. All right, well, that's all I'm going to have for you today. Maybe we'll resume this tomorrow and see how if we can pick it up and do better. Keone says, I have a Flare 58 and a La Pavoni. Yeah, the Pavonis are cool. The Flares are really surprisingly nice. I saw a guy selling a Flare 58 on eBay Facebook Marketplace for like $475, and I was like, maybe I'll offer something for that. That looked pretty interesting. A friend of mine has one, so I don't really need to buy one. But I can't deny that one of the best espresso I've ever had in my entire coffee career was made on a Flare 58 last year. That was really super surprising. I mean, this is nice. This is actually a nice, beautifully structured cup. It just doesn't have the body and the chocolateness that I was thinking that I would like to have in it. But when it comes to like lingering aftertaste, sweetness, fruitiness, I'm getting really nice notes of that. A little bit of, I said earlier, it was more citrusy. Now it's more citrusy stone fruit, like a cherry orange kind of fruitiness to it with nice acidity. It's a nice, pretty acidity, not a heavy, modern specialty coffee type of acidity. All right, we'll do that. We'll resume again tomorrow with the espresso, see if we can get something better out of it. Sometimes it just may take another day or two. This coffee was roasted on May 6th. So I'm losing coffee. So today is the 13th. So we're probably in a range where that occlusion is just starting to come out. This could be partially due to coffee occlusion from CO2 production after roasting. Something to think about. All right. Well, that's going to be for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. Appreciate you being here. We'll be back again tomorrow, 10 a.m. Maybe we'll continue with more espresso. If you have any questions about espresso or anything like that, let me know. Happy to talk more about it. All right, Keone, Mom, good to see you. George, good to see you as well. And Brian, also. Dan, everybody out there. Hope you have a wonderful day, and see you next time.